It is the 24th day of February 2023, some few minutes to 9 p.m. East African time. Welcome to Friday, to our top 3 stories lined up just for you. Tonight, ODM leader Raila Odinga wages on with his demand to have the 2022 general election servers opened.
Tulitaka servers zifunguliwe ili zikaguliwe.
With the president and his allies insisting that they will not be swayed.
The servers were open when the court determined the election. To now pretend and tell us about servers.
Also tonight, education stakeholders call for the resumption of the 844 curriculum, saying the CBC is not feasible.
That we don't have adequate funds allocated in the recruitment of the number of teachers required to roll out the system.
Plus, Boda rider found guilty of plotting to stage a terror attack at the KICC in 2019, sentenced to 30 years in prison. Welcome to the broadcast. Catherine Simelo is on the sign language interpretation. I'm yours truly, Stanley Ringita. You can always talk to us on our socials below your screens. We do begin with some national politics. President William Ruto has slammed Azimio leader Raila Odinga and his critics over the ongoing demonstrations against the government on the performance and also the rising cost of living, insisting that they inherited a dilapidated economy from the handshake government which Raila took part in. While insisting that he has stabilized the economy, the president says that they will not go back to the subsidies on consumable goods.
Just days after Raila Odinga called for mass action against the government poking holes over the Kenya Kwanza performance in the last 6 months, President William Ruto has told off the Azimio leadership for engaging in acts that whip up emotions of Kenyans without giving practical solutions to Kenyans' problems.
I want to tell all leaders in Kenya, we do not need any permission from no character to be able to serve the people that elected us. We need to figure out how we are going to work together, serve the people of Kenya. Elections come and go, but the people of Kenya remain, and our issues must be consistent. We are being elected to think about the people of Kenya. Tunaelewana jameni?
While telling off critics over remarks of his achievements in the last 5 months, the president says the Kenya Kwanza government is focused on finding long-term solutions on stabilizing the economy which had deteriorated.
And I want to assure all our citizens that we will not go back to reckless borrowing. We will not go back to subsidies that benefit brokers, cartels, and people who are politically correct. We will not go back there. Instead, production. And that is why 4.5 million farmers today are accessing fertilizer that we have subsidized as government so that we can support our production and eliminate the challenges of high cost.
The Mombasa Tour platform gave UDA Brigade a platform to chide the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga over being discharged of his duties as the AU Infrastructure Envoy, a position DP Gachagua says Raila lost because of politics.
Sasa alikuwa na kiti ya Afrika, ndio huyo amefukuzwa. Ameambiwa hivi mzee apatikane kazini, ako maandamano, ako kupiga kelele. Hata hiyo watu ya African Union si wamefanya vile natakikana? Kwa sababu kama wewe bwana iko kazini, si watatafuta mtu mwingine. Kwa hivyo sisi nasema hawa watu ya maandamano hapana usia huyu rais wetu uoga.
Tuachie. Tuko kwa kambi umetufungia sana. Tuachilie. Mimi kama generali wa UDA hapa Mombasa na jeshi ya nchi kavu tutaingia tupambane na hawa watu. Mimi najua wanataka kukuprovoke. Wanataka utumie polisi kupiga vitoa machozi. Please, dear Mr. President, don't respond to a mosquito bite with a hammer. Hiyo ya utuachie.
Nikwambie kiongozi mzuri ni yule anayerushiwa mawe na kupigwa mawe, kwa sababu akipigwa mawe atajua kesho nitapigwa mawe, wacha nifunge hapa. Na kama hatajua kama kuna njaa, kama unga umepanda bei, kama shule CBC imetukoroga, kweli ataweza kujua? Basi haya yanayofanyika yanamstrengthen Mheshimiwa William Ruto. Anazidi kuwa ngangari, lakini bila hivyo ata relax, atajua kila kitu kiko shwari.
Ruto is expected to continue with his 2-day tour in Mombasa County. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47, Nairobi.
And meanwhile, Azimio leader Raila Odinga has maintained pressure that the IEBC servers should be made public and be audited by an independent institution. However, President William Ruto has come to the defense of the Electoral Commission, saying the electoral process was transparent. Listen in. The Azimio One Kenya Coalition Party Friday poked holes on the independence of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, faulting the former chairperson Wafula Chebukati, who resigned January this year, over what they termed as use of trickery by Chebukati to manipulate the August elections.
Sisi kama wale ambao walienda katika mahakama kupitia kwa wakili yetu, tulitaka saba zifunguliwe ili zikaguliwe tujue matokeo kamili ya uchaguzi. Lakini ile kampuni ambayo ilijiriwa na ambayo alileta hizi mitambo hapa inaitwa Smartmatic, ikaandika barua mnamo tarehe 31 mwezi wa 8 kwa shirika ya IEBC ikisema ya kwamba hawezi kufungua hizo servers kamwe.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga further demanded that all IEBC servers should be opened and be audited by an independent institution. The head of state, however, coming to the defense of IEBC, stating that there was transparency in the electioneering process.
IEBC, which should be answering these queries, is silent. Instead, it has retained Mr. Ruto as their patron and public relations manager.
Sava ilikuwa wazi wakati tulienda kwa polling station. Sava ilikuwa wazi wakati kila Mkenya alitambuliwa na ile biometric. Sava ilikuwa wazi wakati kila Mkenya alipatiwa kura apige kura. Ilikuwa wazi wakati IEBC ilituma ile matokeo kwa ile mtandao.
However, Raila has accused Ruto of using the IEBC to rig the 2027 elections. This even as the PSC shortlisted an 11-member panel that will be looking to fill the vacancies left following the resignation of Wafula Chebukati, Abdi Gulie and Boya Molu.
Ruto is on a full-throated assault on the integrity of elections and democratic processes ahead of the 2027. It will not happen. Kenyans will not allow it.
And as the wheels turn for the reconstitution of the Electoral Commission, IEBC Commissioner Irene Masit is awaiting her fate after the Aggrey Muchelule-led tribunal retired earlier this week and is expected to deliver its recommendations on Masit's conduct during the elections. And Azimio leader Raila Odinga and his brigade is expected to hold a rally at Amalembe grounds in Kakamega County. Speaking after inspecting the ground, Kakamega Governor Fernandez Baraza said the meeting is a party affair, urging locals to turn up in large numbers. Baraza, however, stood his ground on his newfound ally, President William Ruto, saying theirs is collaboration between governments, has nothing to do with political affiliations.
It's not right because
where will the choppers land?
So we have
tomorrow we expect the entire leadership of Azimio to be here, starting from our party leader. Of course, leader of NAK Kenya will be here as well. We expect Kalonzo Musyoka to be here. The leader of DAP, that is Eugene Omalwa, and quite a number of members of parliament have confirmed to come here, so it will be a very big day for the Azimio team and fraternity to welcome our party leader to come and talk to his people. One thing that you need to understand, tomorrow is a political function, it's not an executive function. What we have done, of course, is to separate politics from matters development. And as you're all aware, the Constitution is very clear. In terms of collaborating with government, it is not really a request per se, but a requirement in the Constitution. So what we will be having here tomorrow has nothing to do with the national government. It's a party affair. We are not going to mix the politics and the matters development. We are actually trying to depoliticize development issues with the party politics. And for us as governors, we have also made it clear that when it comes to matters development, we'll of course have a discussion with the national government. But tomorrow's event is purely a party event.
All right, let's pause on matters politics and get into the corridors of justice. But the border rider Victor Dedebwire, found guilty of conspiring to stage a terror attack at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC, in Nairobi in 2019, has been sentenced to 30 years in prison. Bwire's jailing has been hailed as a breakthrough in smashing terrorism within this region of the Horn of Africa.
The sentence came under a week after the court ruled that it found sufficient evidence to show that Bwire used Facebook to collect data and share it with terrorists in Somalia with the intention to bomb the iconic KICC building. It was found that convict had opened 3 Facebook accounts which he used to collect data and disseminate the same to Somali-based terror group Al-Shabaab, as well as 2 masterminds of the intended attack. The 3 Facebook accounts were opened using pseudonyms. In the first count, he was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment and the second count 20 years, but the court ruled that the sentence would run concurrently for 20 years.
Taking all these factors into account and also taking into account the period that the accused person has been in custody, I will sentence the accused as follows. In count 1, the accused will serve a sentence of 10 years imprisonment, while in count 2, the accused person will serve a sentence of 20 years imprisonment. So these terms will run concurrently.
In his sentence, Senior Principal Magistrate Bernard Ochoi stated that had the attack been successful, the impact would have been dire.
The sentence report, the ATPU asked the court to consider the impact terror acts cause to the nation, which include loss of life, close of businesses, and generally negative impact to the economy.
Ochoi dismissed his mitigation for a non-custodial sentence, saying that the offense he committed does not warrant one to be committed to community serve.
For purposes of committing a terrorist act therein, and the terrorist act, Your Honor, in this case being bringing down the building and causing loss of life and damage to property.
The court noted that to free him at this moment will jeopardize the ongoing search for the most wanted international terrorist Mohammed Yare Abdallah, whom the American government has placed a tag of $10 million on his head upon arrest.
And now to matters education. 3 weeks into the enrollment of a junior secondary, some students are yet to join the next level of CBC, citing a myriad of challenges. Stakeholders in the education sector are now faulting the government for failure to adequately prepare for the curriculum before implementation.
Following the challenges that have been reported since the beginning of junior secondary enrollment, various stakeholders have come up to criticize the manner in which enrollment has been carried out.
Hawa wananchi wanaumia na maneno ya CBC. Uniform kununua, ati mtoto avae long.
Elimu Bora Working Group has called on the government to halt the implementation of CBC pending proper planning and establishment of infrastructure needed for the excellent implementation of the curriculum.
The government must forthwith stop using children as pawn by putting them through a chaotic, ill-thought out and rush to education system and take urgent remedial steps without jeopardizing the lives of our learners.
The Parliament has also been put to task to ensure adequate budgetary allocation to support transition into junior secondary.
Why is it that we don't have adequate funds allocated in the recruitment of the number of teachers required to roll out this system? Why is it that there is no adequate budgetary allocation to support the infrastructure development that is required to roll out the junior secondary school? So we are asking Parliament not only complain, but to ensure that there is adequate budgetary allocation that is necessary to support the transition in terms of recruitment of the adequate number of teachers required and also improving the infrastructure.
The group also weighed in on the second interim report by the Presidential Working Party on education, citing their failure to make recommendations based on the country's future education plans and instead measuring on the 2030 blueprint.
Why is the visioning for the education in Kenya glued to the Vision 2030, which is in its twilight stages? Can Kenya progress or project its education and vision beyond the 2030 goals?
Sylvia Nyongasa, TV 47.
Right, meanwhile, President William Ruto has vowed to ensure every household has access to cooking gas to reduce wood fuel. During the launch of Taifa Gas at Dogo Kundu, the head of state said the government will remove all taxes levied on gas.
In what comes as music to the ears of Kenyans, President William Ruto has tasked Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chilchil to ensure cooking gas is made available at a subsidized price within 3 years. According to the President, the LPG investment will come a long way to realize his agenda of acquiring 100% of clean energy usage in the country by making cooking gas more affordable for the remaining 70% of Kenyan households that use charcoal and firewood by 2030.
Itatusaidia kama Wakenya kuhakikisha ya kwamba tunapata gas na mapishi yetu yatakuwa kwenye mazingira ama mazingira yenye afya na mazingira ambayo haileti madhara.
Mradi wa leo ni baadhi ya miradi ambao tumepanga kupanua maneno ya viwanda, kupanua maneno ya biashara na kupanua maneno ya uwekezaji. Na hiyo kazi imeendelea.
Ruto welcomed the trade partnership between the neighboring Tanzania and Kenya, saying that the investment will project good health, help conserve forest and bring forth employment opportunities to the youth.
It is a fact that many Kenyan families bear the burden of respiratory allergies and complications on account of indoor pollution and persistent exposure to wood smoke. Cleaner cooking energy is therefore a welcome preventive healthcare intervention.
To realize this, Ruto has directed that all government institutions should be directed to adopt the alternative clean energy by 2025 and that the Kenya Ports Authority should establish additional 40 metric tons storage facilities for the gas. Apart from the political heat that raided this ceremony, the fifth administration is happy to have attracted investors to help them fight against poverty in the country. Paul Monio, TV 47 from Dongo Kundu, Mombasa County.
Tonight, National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u has termed former Kenya Revenue Authority KRA Commissioner General Githi Mburu as a weak link in President William Ruto's administration's efforts to restructure the taxman, and a task that has to be completed. The CSO spoke during a sitting with the Senate Committee on Finance and Budget on the 2023-2024 budget, and the status of the economy, said that the ongoing restructuring at KRA will continue. Apollo Kabao reports.
National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u, speaking before the Senate Finance and Budget Committee, termed the exit of former Commissioner General Githi Mburu at KRA helm as part of the reforms to remove the weak link in President William Ruto's efforts to reform KRA.
The strength of your team is equivalent to your weakest link. So you always have to fight to remove the weakest link. What we are saying is that where we are coming from, we have to restructure even ourselves. We have to restructure to get where we want to be.
Though refusing to answer questions from the media, the CS said the ongoing process to restructure KRA and other key state agencies is ongoing, a mandate that will continue to its fruition.
We have to look at best options in terms of restructuring. That's a debate that is still ongoing.
Githi Mburu, who burst into the limelight for his pursuits against tax cheats in a bold crackdown that also affected Keroche breweries, was said to be at loggerheads with the new chairman Anthony Mwaura, who is an ally of President William Ruto. Nakuru Senator Tabitha Karanja has welcomed Mboro's exit, recalling his tribulations during his era.
I don't know whether he had a target from the multinationals to try to fight and finish any company that he feels is a threat to the multinationals. I don't know. Because he kept on asking, why do you hate me so much? But I could see it's not me, it's about the investment. But now I'm happy that I wished him well, and I told him it's good wherever. And this is for everyone, all of us, even as leaders, to ensure that whatever you do whatever you do to the other people, you ensure that is what you would want people to do to you.
3 top executives have already been replaced at KRA, and Mboro's exit marked the onset of an ambitious, aggressive campaign to reform KRA, which was bastardized by President William Ruto during the election campaigns for targeting his allies. Apul Kamau, TV47.
All right, listen to this next story. The Supreme Court has today ruled that the LGBTQ community has a right to be registered under non-governmental organizations. Through a statement outquoting Section 27, Cap 4 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court has ruled that it is discriminatory to deny the LGBTQ a right to be registered. The court has, however, failed to allow the recognition of gay rights in the country. This comes as Homa Bay Town Member of Parliament Peter Kaluma has voted to table a bill to prohibit and criminalize homosexuality or other unnatural sex acts.
Your Ladyship and my Lord, my name is Amondi Kenneth.
Yes, we apologize for the short.
Right, one particular story we'll be following up on the developments of it in the National Assembly and the Senate, and even reactions by Kenyans right here at TV47. Now from that to some matters diplomacy. U.S. First Lady Jill Biden is in Kenya for a 3-day visit to strengthen ties between the two countries. Jill Biden's plane landed at exactly 4:30 p.m. Friday at the JKIA, where she was received by Kenya's First Lady Rachel Ruto. Jill will on Saturday visit Kibra constituency to discuss matters women economic empowerment, and thereafter head to Kajiado County on Sunday, where she is expected to meet a section of women from pastoralist communities to talk about food security and agribusiness in the Horn of Africa amidst climate change crisis. Right, diplomats will definitely tell you that we as a country, we're definitely privileged. Now to matters security, Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki has revealed that they have received 39 firearms, 136 rounds of ammunition and 1 fragmented rifle grenade. This is after the joint exercise with Amnesty that gave the bandits a 3-day ultimatum to surrender their weapons. This comes amid reports of an operation struggling to achieve its goals, with cases of human rights abuses being reported.
As the war against bandits intensifies, Kenyan troopers have made several gains in action against the bandits, following the recovery of 39 firearms, 136 rounds of ammunition, and 1 fragment rifle grenade. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has also revealed that a command center for the operation to wipe out bandits in the Rift has been established at a location that he did not disclose.
We have received 39 illegal firearms which have been surrendered by criminals as of today, 136 rounds of ammunition, and 1 fragmented rifle grenade, FRG.
says Kindiki stated that the command center will organize and direct troopers to flush out livestock stealing armed bandits in Baringo, Samburu, Laikipia, Turkana, West Pokot, and Elgeyo Marakwet counties. To ensure 100% operation, an agreement between Uganda and South Sudan has been reached to bar bandits planning to flee for refuge over the operation.
Kenya is currently engaged with its neighbors, Uganda and South Sudan, to ensure that we also seal off all passages and channels by which criminals may escape from one territorial jurisdiction to another.
This coming amid reports of an operation struggling to achieve its goals, with bandits waging on with incessant attacks, killing residents and making away with scores of livestock.
We will mop out all illegal firearms from these areas and other areas which have similar problems once and for all. We will get the guns. Don't ask me how.
On Thursday, Samburu West MP Nesula Lesuda decried an increase in cases of human rights violations in the ongoing KDF operation to flush out bandits in the banditry-riddled counties. According to Lesuda, women and children are the ones bearing the greatest brunt of the wrath of the KDF, with cases of rape being reported in some parts. Flora Lemuki, TV 47.
And former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has defied orders to appear before the DCI, ordering him to present himself for questioning over the alleged police raid at his house 2 weeks ago. His lawyer Dunstan Omari says his client was not properly served and that the summons did not bear any signature, while noting that the High Court order barring the DCI from arresting Matiang'i does not stop him from being investigated by the agency. Omari slammed the DCI for not following procedures on how summons ought to be served.
Nionyeshe mahali ambapo ule CS ameweka kidole kwamba amekuwa served. Yangu ilipokuja muliona nimeweka kidole na stamp ya law firm yangu. Iko wapi? Hivyo ndivyo vitu viwili. Taifa hili halitafanya kazi vile huyu DCI mpya anataka kufanya kazi.
In the criminal process, those are among the guiding principles or guiding sections that ought to inform the manner, the service, and the form and content of summons. In civil practice, the order, civil procedure rules have extensive discussions on how summons ought to be served.
We are not going to mince our words. We are going to ensure that all of us respect the rule of law. The law anticipates that all of us, regardless of how mighty we are, regardless of how high in command of the police ranks or whichever ranks we are subordinate to the law. We all bow to the sovereignty of the law, and we will be encouraging him that moving forward, it is high time that he respects the law. He leads his juniors in obeying what we call the rule of law.
And definitely, let's get into the wonderful world of sports. Samuel Kibath and Rebecca Njeri earlier today dominated the men's 5,000 meter and women's 10,000 meter races, respectively, of the second Athletics Kenya track and field meeting at the Nyayo National Stadium. Kibath continued his fine form, coming off the National Cross Country Championship with a victory in the men's under 20 8-kilometer victory as he crossed the finish line fast in a time of 13 minutes and 36.02 seconds, only 0.51 seconds ahead of Cornelius Kemboi in Heat 2 of the AK track and field meet. Meanwhile, in the women's 10,000 meter category, Njeri clocked 32 minutes and 37.4 seconds to win the race ahead of Agnes Mumbuo and Edina Girotich, who came in second and third respectively. In the 100 meter category, Commonwealth Games champion Ferdinand Omanyala stormed to a world lead time of 9.86 seconds as he promised a sub 9.80 seconds in the finals slated for Saturday morning.
Leo ilikuwa gumu juu sijawahi kimbia 10k in Kenya. Last year nilikuwa nimekimbia 5000 nikashida. First day na second day nikakuwa namba 2. But leo nimesema nikimbia 10k nione venye nitaperform leo. But haikuwa easy. Nikiwa kilomita ya 9 ndipo nilisikia mwili haisongi, but siku give up. Juu nikikumbuka coach akinitrain hiyo time nilikuwa na train, alikuwa ananiambia no pain no gain. Hakuna mshindani anaweza kata kwa kiwanja ashinde. Lazima ukangane na ushinde na kuwa na pamoja. So I appreciate my coach and say thank you to Coach Mufai very much.
And to some FKF action, Miaina Sigman and Moses Shikanda were earlier today on target as Kariobangi Sharks thrashed Sofapaka 2-0 in the FKF Premier League match week 17 tie at the Kasarani Annex. The KG match saw both sides play out to a goalless first half. However, Sigman fired the Slum Boys ahead in the 48th minute before substitute Shikanda blasted home the second and winning goal for William Oluya's side in the 75th minute. The results saw Kariobangi Sharks climb up to the 11th position on the log to 20 points, while Sofapaka remained 13th on the log on 18 points.
Na tukaweza labda kuzuia vyema kwa maana mechi zile tumecheza zote tumekuwa tukifunga lakini hatuzuii. Sasa labda leo kuzuia sio kipindi cha kwanza kwenda mapumzikoni tukiwa labda 0-0 na kupata mabao mawili hasa kipindi cha pili imesaidia zaidi.